In the late 1700s, William Morris, a former Continental Navy navigator, embarked on a journey that would challenge every understanding of the world. The Revolutionary War had left him disillusioned, separated from his beloved wife Lucy, and haunted by stories told on cold Atlantic nights. Tales of Captain James Cook and the Antarctic Circle stirred a curiosity he could not ignore, and the words of Captain Butler echoed in his mind. The promise of uncharted lands beyond the icy southern wall became an obsession. When William purchased an old Navy vessel, many laughed, dismissing his dream as folly, yet he knew in his heart that this expedition was his destiny. His crew was small, wary, and loyal, composed of only a few who shared his daring spirit. Among them was Butler himself, who had once spoken of a passage through the frozen seas and now held maps marked with coordinates no one else had seen. With winter approaching, preparations were meticulous, each supply and route carefully considered. Yet, a foreboding sense of danger lingered, for the unknown always carried a hidden cost. Days before departure, a stranger arrived at William's door with Fint, a mysterious companion of Butler's. They presented a manuscript, brittle with age, written in a foreign script and ominous in tone. The message warned that the doors of knowledge were guarded by the custodians, an ancient race with powers beyond human comprehension, and that trespassers risked being cut off from the world forever. William felt the chill of dread, but his determination did not waver. Butler, having disappeared for days prior, returned suddenly with new maps, confirming that the journey was now unavoidable. The crew set sail on November 14, leaving behind familiar shores for a voyage into mystery. The Atlantic was mercifully calm at first, but as they ventured south, the waters grew dark, the storms more violent, and the icy mountains loomed ever larger. The towering ice walls reached nearly 90 meters, their jagged peaks casting colors of red and yellow in the strange Antarctic sunlight. As they approached the icy barrier, William and his crew were struck by an unnatural warmth emanating from the melting slopes, a contrast that seemed almost impossible. Butler, calm yet intense, guided the ship carefully along the icy wall. Suddenly, a narrow passage opened between towering blocks of ice, as if inviting them into another world. The invisible current seized the ship, drawing them forward with terrifying speed. The crew was paralyzed with awe and fear, their breaths misting in the cold air, while the storm behind them vanished as mysteriously as it had appeared. Beyond the passage lay open, untouched waters, serene yet filled with an unspoken danger. The crew realized that they had crossed into a realm no one had ever seen. Minutes stretched into hours, and the silent sea seemed to whisper secrets of the world that had existed long before human memory. Then, a colossal craft appeared on the horizon, moving with an eerie precision. It was unlike any ship the sailors had ever seen, dark and reddish, glinting under the strange southern sun. The ship approached with purpose, and a loud horn sounded across the sea. Figures dressed in white suits boarded their vessel, speaking in perfect English and revealing themselves as emissaries from lands beyond the walls. They handed Butler a map, warning that the lands they had left behind were unsafe and that they must follow directions to reach the Ancestral Republic, a hidden civilization guarding humanity's forgotten history. William struggled to comprehend the significance, but the seriousness in Butler's and the emissaries' faces left no room for doubt. They were now part of a journey that transcended exploration. It was a mission to preserve life, knowledge, and perhaps even the future of humanity itself. Days passed as the ship moved through calmer waters, the cold gradually giving way to a milder climate. Birds appeared, vegetation floated on the surface, and the crew marveled at the beauty and strangeness of this untouched world. Eventually, they reached a sprawling city illuminated with strange lights, silent and orderly, entirely unlike anything they had known. Uniformed officials greeted them, calling the city part of the Ancestral Republic. William's mind was overwhelmed by the technology and the strange harmony of a civilization hidden for centuries. They were escorted to the presidential office, where they met President Field. His words were grave and filled with urgency. The journey across the ice walls had jeopardized delicate balances, exposing the Republic to threats that had remained hidden for generations. Thiel revealed that humanity had undergone multiple resets, where powerful forces wiped out civilizations, leaving only a select few to rebuild. William was stunned to realize that the knowledge of the world's history he had taken for granted was incomplete, manipulated, and heavily guarded. No sooner had they absorbed this revelation than the city came under attack. Explosions ripped through the streets, alarms blared, and silver spheres with red lights hovered ominously above, observing the chaos. William, trained for crisis, moved instinctively to aid the wounded. The sky burned a deep red, as if the world itself were aflame, casting a terrifying glow over the city. Butler and President Thiel led efforts to defend the Republic, calling for the Anakim, ancient warriors of immense strength who had aided humanity in past conflicts. William's understanding of heroism, courage, and human resilience was challenged as the enemy's strategy became clear. The attackers were organized, powerful, and determined to erase the ancestral Republic from history. Every moment was a test of survival, and every decision carried consequences beyond comprehension. Amid the chaos, William glimpsed advanced technologies and strategies far beyond anything known in the outside world. Forces moved with precision, deploying devices that could disarm or incapacitate on a massive scale. The Republic's defenders, though fewer in number, fought with the knowledge of the ancients, and William realized that the balance of power in this hidden civilization was not solely human. The Anakim emerged, colossal warriors who towered over men and machines alike. Their presence brought hope, but also fear, for the sheer magnitude of their power reminded William that he and his crew were outsiders in a world governed by forces they could scarcely comprehend. Still, he pressed forward, driven by loyalty, curiosity, and an unyielding sense of duty. The battle raged for hours, cities and skies alike trembling under the impact of both technology and raw power. William, moving among civilians and fighters alike, discovered hidden vaults and secret passages that had protected generations of knowledge. Each discovery deepened his understanding of the custodians, the ancient architects of humanity's secret history. He realized that his voyage had uncovered not just a physical land, but a dimension of truth hidden from the broader human population. The custodians had shaped reality, guarded knowledge, and even determined the cycles of civilization resets. As the city fought for survival, William's mind raced with questions about the past, the present, and what the future might hold if these forces were ever unleashed upon the wider world. Amidst the ruins, William learned that the attack was not random. The custodians were being challenged by an emerging faction, an enemy intent on controlling or erasing knowledge for their own gain. The silver spheres were reconnaissance units, their red lights signaling imminent danger. Every choice became a gamble, every action a potential pivot between salvation and annihilation. Butler, familiar with the tactics of the custodians, coordinated countermeasures with precision, but William could sense the strain behind his calm demeanor. Each step further into the Republic's mysteries revealed layers of civilization far older than humanity's recorded history. The crew understood that their presence was now entwined with the fate of these ancient guardians. The skies darkened further, and reports of new incursions reached William. Enemy units moved in coordinated waves, attempting to breach defensive lines. Despite the overwhelming odds, the Republic's inhabitants and defenders held firm, relying on tactics and knowledge accumulated over millennia. William, navigating the chaos, discovered cryptic inscriptions and devices suggesting that human evolution had been subtly guided by custodian intervention. Every artifact, every relic told a story of civilizations lost and rebuilt. William realized that their journey was not merely an adventure. It was an initiation into truths that could reshape human understanding of history, power, and destiny. The first part ends with the city stabilizing temporarily, the enemy retreating for the moment, but with the ominous knowledge that the war was far from over. William and his crew now fully understood that their voyage had drawn them into a conflict spanning millennia, with stakes far greater than survival alone. Every discovery, every alliance, and every threat would shape the next phase of their journey. They had crossed the Antarctic walls, reached lands thought to be myth, and now faced a struggle that would determine the future of both hidden civilizations and humanity itself. As the dust settled over the temporarily stabilized city, William realized that the battle had only scratched the surface of the Republic's hidden struggles. Streets that were once immaculate now bore scars of explosions, and structures built centuries ago stood cracked and trembling. Civilians emerged cautiously, their eyes wide with fear, yet filled with hope, as they witnessed the Anakim patrolling and restoring order. William's crew moved alongside them, aiding in reconstruction and carrying the wounded to safety. Despite the relief, attention lingered like a storm cloud. They knew the enemy had retreated not out of defeat, but to regroup, plan, and strike again. Thiel convened a council of leaders, strategists, and custodian representatives, urging everyone to prepare for the next wave. William listened intently, absorbing every piece of information, realizing that understanding the Republic's complex social, technological, and military structure was as crucial as any battle tactic. The council revealed that the attacking faction was called the Vol, a rogue group of custodians who had rebelled against the established order. Unlike the loyal custodians who guided the ancestral Republic, the Vol sought to seize control of the accumulated knowledge to reshape human history according to their own vision. William was struck by the notion that the very forces that had quietly guided humanity for millennia were now in conflict, and that the outcome could have consequences far beyond the hidden lands of the Antarctic. The ancestral Republic, though advanced and prepared, relied heavily on secrecy, trust, and careful management of knowledge. A single misstep could unravel centuries of carefully maintained balance. William realized that his presence as an outsider carried both risk and opportunity. The decisions he made could alter the course of this war. During the council, Butler introduced William to hidden archives beneath the city. These archives contained manuscripts, artifacts, and devices dating back tens of thousands of years, chronicling civilizations erased from human memory. The texts were written in languages older than any William had ever seen, yet many were translatable thanks to custodian technology. Each scroll and tablet revealed cycles of creation and destruction, wars between factions of custodians, and humanity's recurring role as both witness and participant. William began to grasp the magnitude of what he had stumbled upon. The custodians were not merely guardians, they were architects, shaping life, culture, and knowledge across millennia. The revelation weighed heavily on him, for it meant that the world he had known was only a fragment of a far greater story. As days passed, William trained with the Anakim and custodian scholars, learning skills that blended technology, strategy, and insight into natural laws unknown to the outside world. The training was intense, challenging both mind and body, and William quickly realized that conventional thinking would not suffice in this new reality. He learned to read patterns in the environment, detect hidden signals, and anticipate enemy movements. The physical exercises tested endurance, but the mental lessons reshaped his understanding of perception, time, and cause and effect. Butler, watching him adapt, remarked that William's ability to think logically under pressure was remarkable, and that he might become a crucial strategist in the battles ahead. Despite the strain, William felt a renewed sense of purpose. He was no longer merely an explorer. He had become a participant in a saga far greater than the one he had imagined on the decks of his old Navy vessel. Then, unexpected intelligence reached the council. The Vol had located an ancient weapon hidden in a remote valley, a device capable of destabilizing the Republic's energy grids and annihilating entire cities within minutes. Panic rippled through the leaders, but Thiel remained calm, emphasizing that the weapon must be secured before it could be activated. William volunteered to lead a small team to retrieve it, knowing that the journey would be perilous. He was joined by Butler, Fint, and a few Anakim warriors, each skilled in ways that defied human limits. The journey required traversing treacherous mountains, icy rivers, and dense forests, all carefully monitored by Vol scouts. Every step was a test of stealth, endurance, and strategy. The deeper they ventured, the more William understood the scope of the Republic's hidden lands. Valleys shrouded in mist revealed ruins of forgotten civilizations, and artifacts hinted at the repeated rise and fall of human societies under custodian guidance. Upon reaching the valley, the team found the weapon guarded by a combination of natural hazards and intricate custodian mechanisms. It was unlike any conventional device. A pulsating core radiated energy that seemed alive, and inscriptions warned that only those aligned with the Republic's ethical code could safely handle it. Butler and William worked together to decipher the warnings, carefully maneuvering through a sequence of challenges that tested intellect, morality, and courage. Fint's intuition proved invaluable, detecting traps that would have been fatal to less experienced explorers. As they approached the core, William felt a resonance in his mind, a connection to the knowledge stored within the device. It was as if the custodians themselves were testing his worthiness, and he understood that failure could mean not only death, but a permanent disruption of balance between forces. After hours of precise calculations, cautious movements, and tense coordination, they successfully secured the weapon. Yet, before they could return, the ball attacked, deploying aerial and ground forces that seemed nearly unstoppable. The team fought fiercely, combining custodian strategies with their own ingenuity. William, drawing upon lessons from Butler and his own naval experience, coordinated maneuvers that allowed them to evade capture and protect the weapon. The Anakim warriors demonstrated their immense strength, taking down multiple enemy units with astonishing speed. Despite the chaos, William realized that the journey had strengthened his understanding of leadership, trust, and the delicate balance of power. Each decision was critical, and hesitation could result in catastrophic consequences. Returning to the Republic, the team was celebrated for their bravery, yet there was no time for rest. Intelligence suggested that the Vol were planning a large-scale assault on multiple cities simultaneously, aiming to destabilize the Republic entirely. The Council convened, and William, now recognized as a strategic advisor, contributed insights drawn from both his naval expertise and newfound custodian knowledge. Plans were formulated to deploy defenses, evacuate civilians, and prepare for counterattacks. The Republic's cities, once hidden and tranquil, were transformed into fortified bastions, blending ancient technology with innovative strategies. The anticipation of battle brought tension, yet also unity, as citizens and warriors alike prepared to defend their civilization. The subsequent attacks were intense, stretching over days. The Vol demonstrated sophisticated tactics, including decoys, infiltration, and cybernetic disruptions. William's role became increasingly critical. He coordinated defensive positions, optimized resource allocation, and advised leaders on adaptive strategies. Each confrontation revealed layers of custodian history and techniques, challenging the team to rethink conventional notions of warfare. The Anakim proved decisive in direct combat, while Butler and William orchestrated maneuvers that turned the tide in critical moments. Civilians contributed by operating support networks, healing, and maintaining infrastructure, illustrating the Republic's philosophy of integrated defense and shared responsibility. During the climax of the conflict, William confronted a Vol commander, a former custodian named Relax, whose knowledge rivaled that of the Republic's most experienced leaders. The duel was both physical and mental, with strategies, technology, and intellect intertwined. William relied on intuition, lessons from Butler, and insights gained from the Antarctic journey, ultimately outmaneuvering Relax and forcing a retreat. The Republic's forces seized the opportunity to reclaim key territories, secure critical knowledge, and stabilize the cities. William realized that victory was not absolute, but it had shifted the balance, proving that courage, strategy, and collaboration could overcome even formidable opponents. In the aftermath, Thiel praised William, Butler, and their team, acknowledging that their efforts had preserved the Republic and safeguarded knowledge that could shape humanity's future. William reflected on the journey from his departure in the Atlantic to the hidden cities of the Antarctic. The world he had known was vastly expanded, and he had gained a profound understanding of history, power and responsibility. The Ancestral Republic, though still vulnerable, had renewed confidence in its ability to defend its secrets and guide humanity with wisdom. William felt a sense of fulfillment, not merely from survival, but from contributing to a purpose far greater than himself. As the story closed, William and his crew prepared to return home, though their hearts remained tethered to the Republic. They knew that the hidden world would continue to face challenges, and that future conflicts were inevitable. Yet, they also understood that knowledge, courage, and unity were enduring forces capable of shaping destiny. The Antarctic walls, once barriers of mystery, had become gateways to discovery, adventure, and enlightenment. William looked toward the horizon, the sun reflecting off icy peaks, realizing that exploration was never truly about maps or treasures, but about understanding the profound connections between humanity, history, and the forces that shape the world. He carried with him lessons that would guide generations, and a story that would live beyond the reaches of time. The journey of William Morris, Butler, Fint, and the crew ended not in finality, but in promise. The Ancestral Republic remained a hidden guardian of human knowledge, while William returned to the surface world with insights that would forever change his perspective. The Antarctic had revealed its secrets, but it also reminded him that curiosity, courage, and persistence were the keys to unlocking mysteries. History, he realized, was alive, layered, and full of cycles, waiting for those willing to brave its challenges. With that understanding, William sailed toward new horizons, carrying the legacy of the custodians and the Ancestral Republic, ready to face whatever adventures awaited beyond the frozen walls.